Hi everyone, my name's Abigail. I'm a therapist, and today I want to talk about men who are subject to family domestic violence. Now, what I've found in my work over the years is that most, and I'm not saying all, I'm not talking about the men who are incredibly violent and aggressive or, ongoing cheaters and substance users and completely step out all the time of their responsibilities in their relationship. What I'm talking about is men who are committed, doing their best, and find themselves in domestic violence situations. And in my experience, once the law and the police and the courts get involved, when we unpack what the dynamics of the relationship are, it's quite clear that they are also victims of domestic violence, and that what is really going on is dysfunctional relationship issues that do get put under the domestic violence legislation. But if we were to bring it back and address it, they're often relationship communication issues, because I think one of the things that is a major risk with the current system that we have in place, while they'll say that it's protective of women, it also is incredibly damaging to families and damaging to men. And look, this is going to be a controversial view, and I've had a lot of experience. Like, I've read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of police reports and seen the narrative that's put forward. And if I place a behaviour lens over that, I can tell you over half of those would be relationship issues. But if you say that to the services, if you say that to within the police or anywhere else, and in the current climate, it's not acceptable. So what I'm saying, in my experience, is I've seen a lot of men subject to domestic violence, and I'll kind of give you an example. So one man I worked with, he got a domestic violence order from the police, and this order stated what it went through the court actually, what the allegations were against him. So we sat down and we went through each allegation point by point, and what was clear, and this is usually my experience, is the background to each of these incidents was family violence perpetrated against him. And look, we don't want to say, it's really hard, we don't want to say every relationship's full of domestic violence, because they're not. But because in my book, a lot of it's, when there's not strong physical, sexual, other violence, it actually can come down to relationship issues. There's a lot of labeling people, oh, he's a narcissist, or he's this, or she's that. It's like, well, what's the criteria for that? And do you actually have a definition? In the meantime, once you bring the law into relationships, there needs to be a place for men. There's a lot of services for women, but there's not a lot of services for men, and helping men unpack. And that's really difficult when there's so much shame, guilt, and fear, because they have a lot to lose. They have the loss of their home, their family, their income, their relationship. And people will gather around women and support them, and they're the victims. And unfortunately, we've got this mentality of let's support the victim and let's punish perpetrators. Well, actually, let's step back and look at it. Let's unpack it all, and maybe there are no victims and perpetrators. Maybe we've just got some people that have pretty big communication issues going on, because what we know about relationships is that once you get really close to someone, your childhood ways that are programmed in your brain before you're 7 of communicating and being close and being intimate will come to the surface and play out with this person. It's not conscious, it's all subconscious, and it doesn't really make for functional relationships. And look, I know people will say, well, in the past, people just got married forever and they got on with it, and that's very true, because in the past, after the wars, those people came in to create a solidified community, because it had been destroyed by the wars. So those people, they didn't have a sense of themselves as I'm a unique individual and identity, and I'm getting my feelings hurt so I can step in and out of this relationship and blame you. What they did was they came in because they saw how destructive war is, and they came to commit to building families, and it wasn't about the individual. But what we have now is this system where women are given this sense of, oh, this happened, and you know, most women know if you say you're fearful, that's the key to getting money packages, housing, the courts making decisions, and police making decisions on your behalf. Look, I know this is a really controversial thing to say, and I know there's women that genuinely need it. Like, I know that 100 million%. But I'm talking to all those other people. I'm talking to those men who are left like, I don't know what happened, and I don't know, and they're frozen, they're confused, and they don't want to talk about it. They don't know where to go. So what I'm saying is, when you're in a family violence situation and the law and the police get involved and the courts and your children, you're at risk of losing your children, you need to seek support. And yes, legal support, definitely, but support from someone who can sit with you or vibe with you and go through, tell me about this relationship, tell me what happened, help me understand this dynamic that you seem to have in the relationship that's not functional and that has taken you from committed, married, not married, living together, whatever, children, whatever, to this point here where now we've got the police and the law involved. And let's understand that. And you know, if men are not able to hold a truth about their own aggression and violence, if you're working with a good therapist, or they'll challenge you and they'll pull you up and they'll really get you to, by reframing and hold you accountable for that and really challenge that view you have and identify where that came from and how we can change it. But at the end of the day, I think that it's really important to get a professional on board. If you find yourself in that system, get a professional, work through what's happened for you, get back in your masculine energy of power, which is functional power, not dysfunctional power of control of yourself and your direction in life, your protective nature, your safety, your providing. Get back in yourself and focus on this as a problem that needs solving. And I say this to men all the time, like, men are generally really good problem solvers if it doesn't involve emotion. Take the emotion out, work with a professional, and then solve this as a problem that needs to be solved. And I can tell you as well, you need to work in the system to solve the problem, because if you've got the police and the law involved, it's not going to be helpful to camp on the court steps and go, I didn't do it, it was her. It's not going to be helpful. When you're involved in a system, you go into that system to get your voice heard. You don't go outside of it. So same as, you know, if you're on a building site and someone puts the windows in wrong, you don't sit and throw stones at them. No, you go through the process and you go through the system of getting it changed. Probably a bad example. But what I would encourage men to do, especially in states like Victoria, is to, if you think this is a wrong judgment, if this has come out of nowhere and you're not understanding, please reach out and talk to a professional and understand that you do have rights. You do have, they're limited though, it's difficult, but you do have rights and you can have a say and you can still be a person who you are proud to be. But you need to do some work, because it's big, it's massive, it's emotional, it's psychological, it's overwhelming, it involves the view of you with all your family, your friends, and the judgments and everything else that comes with it. And only when you can stand in your own truth and speak your own voice and be authentic and own whatever you did, things are redeemable. You can be redeemed. You can forgive. You can be forgiven by yourself, by others. It's not the end of the world, but it's going to be the end of the world if you bury it down inside you and get caught on this roller coaster of a system that, I'm going to say it, isn't very fair to men, doesn't take into account their needs. And the reason for that is clear. Like, so many women are literally, they have their life ended by men in family violence, but equally, We have men who go the other way. They put this inside of them when there's relationship breakdowns or dynamics or power and control, and they will take their own life. And so it's just detrimental on every level. So I suppose what I'm saying is, if you found yourself in this situation, get support, like 100% get support, get to know and be factual about it. Like, you know, that what that means is looking at each allegation, looking at what's gone on, unpacking it succinctly, factually, and having someone support you through. Well, did you do that? Well, how are you not going to do that again? Do you need anger management? Like, what is it? What is it that goes on for you in these situations? So it's an overwhelming system. It's really, really detrimental to men on so many levels. But don't shut down. Do not shut down. Problem solve, man. This is what you're good at. Problem solve. Don't shut down. And honestly, seek support. If you want sessions with me, I'm available via video. I'll leave my email contact below. But honestly, don't freeze. Don't freeze. Don't fight. don't flight. Recognize that you're doing it. Come back and stand up for you and your family and do the best you can. Okay. Thank you.